We're watching Trainer Winnie's healthiest fast food items for building muscle.
Imagine this, you are far from home or just very short on time and you really need to get in some food. And the only option you got available is the nearby fast food. But you don't want to mess up your diet, so what do? Well, luckily for you, I got the answer. For a lot of you,
what you do is you actually take with you something healthy that you can actually like pack. For example, for me, I really like taking raw milk. That's just like the easiest thing that you can take.
It might seem like eating at a fast food restaurant will always be a terrible option, but that's not always the case. You just need to know what to look for and what to stay away from.
Even if there was good options at a fast food restaurant, just because there they don't really give a shit about health and then they just like spray oils and bad shit everywhere.
The most important things you need to pay attention to when eating at a fast food chain is the protein amount and the calorie amount. That's what you should focus on the most. On the other hand, the things you should stay away.
No, I think preservatives, oils, linoleic acid content, which is a polyunsaturated fat, which has been found to lower metabolism and stuff like that. The really bad junk food type of grains shit that like every kid gets nowadays, that really stunts like your height and your development. That stuff is what I would really stay away from. Mostly seed oils and stuff like that.
Away from are obviously fats and sugars, because they are the ones who make the fast food meals so terrible for you. And some
no, the things that makes the fast food meal so terrible is the preservatives, the chemicals, the junk food, the seed oils, the bad stuff. Yeah, fats and sugars are natural. If you get sugar from a banana or an orange, it's sugar, yeah, okay, but it's in its natural form. It's like fine. Fat, okay, how is fat bad if it's an essential nutrient you need to have a lot of for hormones? It turns into testosterone. You need fat. So how are fat and sugars bad just because it's in a fast food setting? No. The real problem is the seed oils, the chemicals, the processed sugar they put on it, etc.
Somewhere in the middle of these two things, we have carbs. Carbs are obviously not bad.
Which I didn't even mention before. Carbs are obviously not bad. You just said sugar was bad. Sugar is a carb. Carbs are sugars. If anything, sugar is actually better than carbs, because in your body, what runs through your blood? What do you use? You don't use carbs for energy. You use glucose for energy. You use sugar for energy. So you have to convert carbs into sugar anyways to use it. So like rice, for example, is pure sugar, like white rice.
Which can inflate the number of calories that you consume. But before you even step a foot into a fast food restaurant, you should set a certain goal for yourself that you will stick with. You need to know how many calories you can quote-unquote spend in the fast food. And also
as if it's an allowance, as if we're the only animal, by the way, that has to count calories to stay lean, even though every other animal has the genetic body fat that they're supposed to have, which for humans is around what, like 15% on average, probably. And then you just eat naturally, which would be you're following your instincts on food that you could get in nature, like where you would live, obviously before like society was built and everything. And and you just follow your instincts. You eat however much you want of whatever you want from that, and then it should be fine.
So how many grams of protein you need to consume. It's important that you know these two values beforehand, because then you know what you're looking for.
Protein's not more important than carbs or fats. They're all equally as important.
We all know what happens when you walk into a fast food restaurant or just into a grocery store when you are super hungry. You start to make irrational decisions and snatch something that you normally wouldn't. So for example, let's say I need a quick snack to get some protein in, and I'm willing to spend 500 calories and I'm looking to get 30 grams of protein. Once we know both of these values, we are ready to enter the fast food. But before we do that...
Or you can buy some eggs and you can crack them into a cup really quickly and drink them raw if they're like high quality eggs. You can pour some raw milk as well.
Let me just quickly mention that rather than talking about every single fast food chain and going through their menus to find something on the healthier side, I would much rather give you general tips that you can use in any fast food chain, restaurant or your local food truck, as that will be much more beneficial to you if
you read the ingredients. That's it.
If you actually learn what you should and shouldn't do, rather than blindly copying the menu items. As I already mentioned, the two most important things you should focus on is the protein and the calorie amount. So the first step is to figure out how you are going to fit more protein into your meal, while also keeping the calories low. Usually most of the protein will be coming from meat, and the best meat option will obviously be chicken, just because it's very lean. So the calories will be a little lower than if you had beef, for example.
Yeah, but why would the lean animal be better than the fatty animal? Which would you want to eat more? Obviously, it's the fatty animal. Fatty animals are natural. You could kill one in nature. You could eat it. So it would taste good, and it would taste better. It would be better. It would literally be better. It would also help for your hormones. because of the saturated fat, which turns into cholesterol, which cholesterol is a precursor for testosterone. The doctors nowadays tell you cholesterol is a bad thing, which he's probably agreeing with, which is why he says to eat it very lean, because, you know, like high cholesterol and high fat, like high body fat, like diabetes, like heart attacks are like all kind of jumped in together, even though this doesn't cause heart attacks or obesity or anything. And so, yeah.
That is most likely not going to be as lean as the chicken. The difference between different meats might not be that big, but it's something to keep in mind. So no matter what kind of meal you will go for, if it's a burger, salad, some kind of wrap or anything else, it's in your best interest to put in some extra meat. That is your number one priority. That's the reason why you came to the fast food restaurant in the first place, to get your protein in when you are short on time. What can also greatly increase the protein amount is eggs or just straight up egg whites. There is a lot of breakfast sandwiches running around, so that might also be a great option. But there are some things that you have to be careful of when getting one of these sandwiches, but more on that a little bit later.
The yolk is the best part of the egg. I actually skip the whites entirely. They just fill you up, have no nutrients except protein, which this guy's obsessed with for no reason, because, again, carbs, fats, and proteins are all equally as important as each other.
In some places, you can grab the egg white bites, which is basically just straight up protein, which is great. Adding cheese also might be a good option, but in most cases, it will come with a lot more calories than the chicken or egg whites, just because most of the fast food chains will be using a full fat cheese, so it's something to consider. But enjoying one slice of cheese is definitely...
Most fast food restaurants don't even use full fat cheese, they use fake cheese. They use cheese product, which basically means that it's 51% cheese or like 49% cheese or even lower, and they just add weird chemicals which are actually black and white, like they're gray, and it looks like the same texture as cheese. Then they add a yellow coloring to make it look like cheese, and they add some drugs on top of it, such as like like added processed sugar or like glucose syrup, like weird fucking shit like that, MSG, whatever. And it tastes good, and you're like, oh yeah, it doesn't actually taste good, but you think it tastes good, and you're like, oh yeah man, the cheese tastes so good.
Definitely not going to be the end of the world. Now you know how you can increase the protein amount.
If anything, full fat cheese would actually be pretty good in this situation.
Half of the story. There are many traps along the way that can easily double the calories of your meal completely out of nowhere. So let's take a look at what you should be careful of.
But what does that mean? Are calories bad for you in any way? Has calories ever killed anyone in and of itself? Have in any time of our human history, except maybe what, like 100 years ago, or even less actually, have people started really even giving a shit about calories? No one even used to know what calories were. It was never even a problem.
Most importantly, stay away from fried stuff. That is just a mega calorie bomb. So when you decide to get chicken, for example, don't order fried chicken, order grilled chicken instead. This is hands down one of the most important tips in this video, because the difference is just so big.
Well, yeah, I actually agree with that, but that's just mostly because when they fry it, frying, like they have to dip it in a lot of oil. And obviously because there's a lot of oil, they're not going to use expensive oil like olive oil or avocado oil, or even ideally something like tallow or butter or something. They would use the cheapest oil, which is filled with linoleic acid because it's super cheap and horrible. It's the seed oils.
All the extra fat and breading will add so many calories that you could just easily avoid. What is also easily avoidable is getting fries. Medium fries can easily be over 300 calories. And how many of those calories are actually spent on getting in your protein? Well, in this case, basically zero. You didn't come to the fast food restaurant to eat a mix of fat and carbs. You mainly came here to get in your protein and move on with your busy day. Don't forget that. It's just an unnecessary addition. Instead of getting fries, you have many other guilt-free options for your sides. You can try apple slices or different types of fruit cups that...
Well, yeah, this would actually be pretty good. It's just like a fruit, right? I mean, it's from McDonald's, which is basically fucking Mac poison. I wouldn't order anything from here, but whatever.
Almost every place offers. Or just get more veggies when you can. That will greatly increase the volume of your food. Speaking of unnecessary additions, remember that breakfast sandwich? 9 times out of 10 there is going to be bacon inside that sandwich, which could yield you some extra protein, but it's mostly just fat. So if you are looking to keep the calories as low as possible so you don't blow up your diet...
Yeah, bacon fat as well is higher in linoleic acid, the thing I was talking about before. Not only will they probably use that oil to fry it, but also just the pigs are fed linoleic acid because again it's really cheap.
I would highly recommend taking the bacon out. What should also be...
Cows aren't because they eat grass most of the time.
It can be the silent killer of your diet. It might seem like a cute small little packet, but depending on what sauce it is, it can easily be over 100 calories for basically nothing. Sure, you can use a little bit of it, just keep in mind that it will keep on adding up to your calorie total. This is actually what ruins a lot of diets without people even realizing it. They order a salad with a ton of ranch thrown on top of it, thinking, wow, I'm only eating salads, I will be
Yeah, and that is also so disgusting, by the way. Look, green, 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 green.
shredded in no time. But the funny thing is that the sauces on top will end up having as many calories as the whole salad itself. So if you want to use sauces, I would highly recommend sticking with ketchup, mustard or some kind of hot sauce.
Fucking ketchup, bro. Imagine you're at like a steakhouse, you know, a place where like, you know, it's like fine quality, you know, something a man would eat, and you see someone dip their steak that's perfectly cooked in ketchup. Like, how fucking disgusting is that? Ketchup is for the worst of the foods, even that. Like,
As these sauces tend to be a little lower in calories than all the other ones. The best option is definitely going with low calorie sauces. And this applies not only when you wander into a fast food, but also when you use sauces at home. And if you really care about keeping the calories as low as possible, you might even consider eating the burger without the top bun, which could save you between 50 to 100 calories. Or you
I mean, yeah, of course, but like that looks so normal. You just take off only the top bun, bro.
can just forgo the bun altogether and get it done protein style.
Yeah, just have only the meat there, like a steak or like a, you know, circle steak.
Means that instead of getting the burger in a bun, you get it wrapped in lettuce. You can also do the same thing with some kind of wrap, where you just let them wrap it in lettuce instead of the bread. Then you can easily enjoy a lot more meat, because the meat itself is relatively low in calories, while the bread is certainly not. At the end of the day, it's all about getting in your protein, and when you meet the protein requirement that you set for yourself before, and you still have some calories left to spend, then you can enjoy whatever your heart desires. Just keep in mind the calorie goal that you set for yourself at
This is basically if it fits your macros, which doesn't work long term. Like, it works when you have a lot of willpower, discipline at the beginning, but then later on, why are you going to be counting calories for the rest of your life? This leads to metabolic slowdown, which means that, you know, those people who can never gain weight no matter how hard they try, they have a fast metabolism. You will have the opposite of that. You will gain weight by just looking at food. If you follow this type of advice, which is basically the standard advice that is given out nowadays, you're gonna slow down your metabolism. You're also not gonna be giving your body everything it needs, because if it still tastes good, that means the body still wants to get something out of it. Obviously, if it's like unnatural processed stuff, then that's not gonna give you anything. But if it's like a steak, for example, has loads of nutrients. Eggs, for example, has loads of nutrients. Even like raw milk has a lot of nutrients, and although the raw milk could be slightly more addictive, but if it tastes good in general, most of the time, it means that your body still wants something out of it, some more nutrients out of it, which means that you should keep eating it.
the start. As long as you don't go over that, you don't have to be worried about the fast food meal destroying your diet. Eating fast food is definitely not something I would recommend every day, but sometimes your life is just so busy that you have no other option than to visit a fast food. And that's okay, because now you know what to do. I'm also really curious, what are your favorite high protein meals when you occasionally visit a fast food? Or if you have some special tricks that you use to get in your protein while making sure that you don't go overboard. I would love if you shared some of your favorite tips down in the comments below. And
Alright, see you later.